7 years ago, my marriage failed. And when something like that happens to you, you go through a couple of things. And the first thing you feel is an overwhelming sense of loss. What follows in close succession is not knowing who you are, because for a part of your life, you were a partner with someone. That was your identity. That was how you defined yourself. You molded yourself to fit into a life with this other person and to be the best partner that you could be. And then suddenly you feel rudderless and like you don't have a direction. And the worst thing is that when you look at yourself in the mirror sometimes, you feel like you're less than. And during that process, there's a couple of things that I had to do. I had to redefine my relationship with failure, with fear, and with success. So because of the society that we are brought up in, and just because we live in a capitalistic environment, success is the material things. It's the cars we drive, where we live, the property we own, the investments we have, etc. And it was a constant process and vicious cycle filled with self-doubt and filled with, okay, so my marriage failed, so I'm also going to fail as a professional, and then I'm going to be nothing, and I'm one of those people who puts a very high premium on what my brand is, how people perceive me, which is the wrong way to look about success. When you're redefining success, you can't afford for success to be how people see you. It's got to come from within. And I really went through that journey in a really, really messy and difficult way. But for me, the straw that broke the camel's back was when I felt betrayed by this person. And for 4 years, I walked around saying that my marriage failed because of what this other person had done. And going back to that place where I have to acknowledge that I had a part to play was a really difficult thing. One of the lessons that I learned was that success changes as you evolve and as you grow. So right now, my son is 4.5. For me, success is being able to be present for him and to be the kind of parent that I want to be. I talk about it now, and it sounds very flippant when I say it. It's taken a really long time for me to be able to talk about it without breaking down or without welling up, or without just getting to the point where I say, this conversation is too hard, I'm not willing to have it. But it's taken me a long time to get here. And it's also taken a lot of taking responsibility for myself, taking responsibility for my actions. So for me, my biggest failure, my marriage, tells me about how to be in a relationship in the future. It tells me that vulnerability is actually not a negative thing. It's not a thing to be afraid of. It's actually something to embrace. And this is the thing. Talking about something like this on a stage like this, for me, takes away something called shame. For those of us who are fans of Brené Brown, we talk about, she says that if you put shame in a petri dish and you douse it with secrecy, silence, and judgment, then it flourishes. But the minute I speak light into my story, and the minute I allow myself to shape my story and to tell my story, then that means I'm a little bit of a better person when I'm done with this conversation. Valentine, don't do that. It means I'm a little bit of a better person when I'm done with this conversation. And I guess for me, I'm back to realizing that I'm still a romantic, and I still do believe in relationships and in the institution of marriage, and that I guess I am going to try again at some point in the future. So that's my story. Thank you.